Good morning, and thank you all for coming. My name is Elizabeth Taylor, and as the General Counsel of the State Board of Education and their designated representative, I will be presiding today at this hearing. This rulemaking hearing is the opportunity for the State Board of Education to gather stakeholder feedback regarding proposed revisions to Chapter 0520-02-04 of the Rules of the State Board, which sets the standards, procedures, and guidelines for SBE approval of educator preparation providers in the specialty area programs that lead to licensure. All licensure programs must ensure that candidates have opportunities to obtain the knowledge and skills specified by the State Board, have clinical experiences in accordance with guidelines established by the State Board, and meet other standards, procedures, and guidelines established by the State Board. These revisions were presented to the State Board of Education for approval on first read on April 20th, 2018, and present an updated comprehensive revision of the educator preparation rule. This revision includes the requirements related to the key components of educator preparation, including admissions requirements and expectations for partnerships with LEAs, and outlines the approval process, including outcomes and consequences. We'll now move to the public comments about the proposed amendments. During the public comment portion, please state your name and organizational affiliation, if any, before making comments. After those who have signed up to speak have given their comments, I will then allow anyone else who is unable to sign up on the sign-in sheet prior to the commencement of the hearing and would like to comment give the opportunity to do so. If I have any questions for individuals who have commented, I will ask them after their time has expired. So the first person that I have to speak is Bobby Lucia. So if you could just come up front and give your comments. And you're the only person so far that has signed up, so I'm not going to limit you to 3 minutes. You can sit down or stand, whichever.
Well, that's fine. Thank you for the opportunity to provide comments this morning. My first comment is on page 1, item 3 under definitions, completer. I implore you to reconsider excluding job-embedded candidates from completer. I understand that this is for anyone who has received a license will be considered a completer. Job-embedded candidates haven't completed an educator prep program. They are enrolled. Some of them may have been on the job for 2 or 3 months, and they're going to be counted a completer. They haven't completed anything. You made in your opening comments about the knowledge and expertise needed of our candidates to do the job that the State Board requires them to do. These people are still working on that knowledge and expertise. So I think this has unintended consequences in the future, in that if job-embedded candidates are included as a completer for our report card, annual report, etc., it can have a very negative impact on the EPP. EPPs, in my conversation with some of my people at the other EPPs, were very concerned that this would have a negative impact. And the unintended consequences, if this does have a negative impact, will EPPs continue to even employ job-embedded or to work with job-embedded candidates, which would really increase the shortage of teachers across our state. So I think there needs to be some reconsideration on excluding job-embedded candidates out of completer. My next comment is on page 10, 2A. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, 2A. And this is for the admission to teacher ed, the overall GPA for post-baccalaureate candidates, and it specifically states a 2.75 in a completed baccalaureate or post-baccalaureate degree, and then goes on with the 3.0. And I really appreciate the fact that you have included post-baccalaureate this year. I do have one request. Would you consider, because this happens a lot, we get a lot of candidates with an undergrad degree, and they've taken some graduate courses, but they haven't completed their post-baccalaureate degree yet. So, but if you combine their undergrad hours and GPA points with their graduate points and hours, they do meet the GPA, but they haven't completed their post-baccalaureate degree yet. So maybe an overall GPA. And my last comment is on page 13, last item, item 12. Because job embedded that is a clinical practice, and it clearly states in here that no more than half of the clinical practice could be in a non-public school. We have a lot of job embedded candidates that are employed by non-public schools. So it would be impossible to have them just do half of their clinical experience in that school if they're a full-time employee of that school. And that concludes my comments.
As far as feedback, I think the first comment made about, Michael Darline, Director of Policy and Operations and Educator Licensure and Preparation. Clarifying job embedded and the definitions. I think that there's kind of two comments to be made here. One is that we do agree we need to have a clear definition for folks who have not yet completed a program but are enrolled in a job embedded program. But I think the other comment you made was related more to the implementation of report cards and annual reports, which I think is a slightly different conversation to have. But we do believe that if an EPP is recommending an educator for a license, what they're doing is stating that that educator is prepared for the position that they are entering. And so I think that having a conversation about how that data is included in report card and annual reports is probably separate from the conversation about just defining job embedded candidates separately from program completers. Post-bac, I think that was just a comment. We hadn't thought or discussed the idea of an overall GPA for post-bac. That's the first time I had heard anything like that, so I think it'd be worth discussing broadly with the group. And then the last comment was related to clinical practice for job embedded folks who are fully employed in a private setting. Our position has always been that all educators should have, because they're going to be granted a Tennessee license to teach in any public school, they should have a clinical experience in a Tennessee public school. I think the logistics, as you mentioned, are challenging, but I think what we would hope for is that there is release time available or some opportunities for job embedded folks to have experience in a Tennessee public school so they can be exposed to things like the team evaluation system and things they may not be exposed to in a private setting.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lucia. Is there anyone else who wants to comment that hasn't signed up? No? Okay. Again, I want to remind everyone that you're welcome to leave a written comment at the table in the back. I have paper and pens if you want to do so. Or you may also send your written feedback to the State Board offices using the contact information available on the agenda. Comments must be received by Friday, June 15th at 4:30 Central Time to be taken into consideration for further revisions and presented to the board along with the meeting materials. The board will be presented with all comments, both written and oral comments here today. And written and oral comments are given equal weighting before the board. Again, the board will vote on the final reading of this rule at the regularly scheduled quarterly meeting on July 27th, 2018 here in Nashville, Tennessee. Details about the location of the meeting and how to watch the meetings online are on the State Board's website. If the board approves the amendments on final reading, they will then go to the Attorney General's office for approval. And after the Attorney General's office approves them, they'll be published at the Secretary of State's office for 90 days before becoming effective. They will also have to go before the Joint Government Operations Committee of the House and Senate, and that date will be determined sometime in the future. Usually it's about 3 or 4 weeks before the effective date of the rule. But all of that's published on the Joint Government Operations website, capital.tn.gov. I appreciate the time and commitment of everyone who is involved in this process from the TDOE. I thank the representatives who came today to speak and give public feedback, and those who have given written feedback. And with no further business on the agenda, this hearing is adjourned. Thank you.